Yo, what's up, guys? Joker bringing you another video for the 3.23 Affliction League. So, I was scrolling through the YouTubes the other day and I noticed this, right? I noticed Wolfio put out a new video and I love Wolfio. He does some of the most weird, interesting shit with like niche mechanics, right? So, that's why I follow him because he's always doing something interesting. And I saw they loop themselves, right? And I went ahead, I watched the video, and I'm like, oh, that is pretty cool. And he brought up some interesting points without like the alt qualities. How exactly would you start up the new cast when damage taken loops for like ward loop and stuff? And I have a very little bit of experience from when I played a ward loop last league, right? So I'm like, fuck it, I'll give it a shot. It's not that expensive. I mean, if I went like full ward loop, and I was setting it up just to test it, then yeah, that'd probably be pretty expensive. But this is just using the stasis prison, which I guess is pseudo expensive, but it's only like 18-20 dib. And at this point in the league, everyone should be able to get 18-20 dib because I've made multiple videos showing you guys how. But yeah, off of that tangent, I wanted to go ahead and test my thoughts in the looping process and how you can make it work with the raised zombie of falling, right? Also, I am using the flesh offering because I do believe it does make a difference. Cast speed, that's also why I have this arcane surge here. I swear, the cast speed that I'm getting from like the flesh offering and the arcane surge, it is making me it is making my zombies hit the ground faster, right? So I do wholeheartedly believe that it is making my loop faster. And then we went ahead and tested some other things out. We were testing the summoning raging spirit because he was using it in his video because he was kind of pseudo needing it to keep his loop going. I don't need it to keep my loop going, so that's why it's there. I've tested throwing it in there to see if I can like speed up my loop, and I definitely can. I can definitely get a pretty good loop going with summon skeletons or summon raging spirit or forbidden rite of soul sacrifice. Like any of these things can now be used to make an effective loop with the raised zombie of falling and the cast for damage taken, right? Because this is the first part of what we're using to trigger our loop. This is the second part, right? Now, you've obviously seen all the new Spectres, right? They're huge. The new Spectres are a big deal. So I have two very special Spectres that you'll see in a second, and they're tied to Infernal Legion. Oh, well, that pretty much fucking gives it away. But these Spectres are going to go ahead and die, and they are going to be triggering my Heartbound loops, right? So I have the 840, right? From the two Heartbound loops just for the zombie. And then I have two Spectres. So I have another 840 there. So I already have enough damage to trigger most cast when damage taken setups that I could viably think of, right? And if I was a ward looper, I would already have more than enough damage to get a very low investment ward loop up and going just with the cast when damage taken, raise zombie of falling, and the specters. Now, with that explained, I'm going to go ahead and go into a map. The reason why I started in town is because the loop automatically triggers itself after like 2 seconds, right? Because my specters die relatively fast. And they're the dark marionettes, right? And the ones that blow themselves up, but then they inflict scorch and um, they also revive themselves. So they're a free reviving minion on top of the raised zombie of falling, right? And then we have the blessed rebirth, making sure that nothing else can kill these before I really want them to die. The specters, as well as the zombies, usually die within their immortality, right? So there's never a random mob that's going to one shot and brick my loop, right? I mean, obviously, they're going to potentially one shot me because this character is not set up very well. Like, I don't have literally any defenses. The tree's a mess. I was just testing a bunch of stuff. But I wanted to go ahead and show off the interesting tech I found with the dark marionettes and the raising falling zombie being all you really need to trigger your loop this league. You don't have to weapon swap anymore. Previously, you would use some wands like this. I need to go to town, otherwise this is going to kill me when I weapon swap. Um, yeah, you don't need to start your loop with a weapon swap. Previously, what you would do is something like this, right? You'd go boom, 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 and you do that a few times, as many times as it took for you to take enough damage from these spectral spirits dying for you to go ahead and get your loop up and running. This solves that 100%. This is giving you a cast when damage taken loop purely off like 4 skill gems. And honestly, you could have this in a one-handed weapon setup, right? And then you could use a shield, and then you could use something like Bone Offering in this setting with like Tempest Shield and just get like free max block, dude. Because we're right now we have Mistress of Sacrifice, but I was also debating going over here because, like I said, I believe the extra cast speed does make the zombies go faster. But yeah, that's initially my thought process, right? My tree, I would not recommend it. Like I said, it's totally scuffed. It's 99% me trying to sustain the damage of the cast when damage taken loop. That's why I have stuff like Surge of Vigor over here. That's why I have the infused flesh up here, because that plus my stasis prison is going to help me recoup pretty much all the damage I take as life, right? And then over here, the main reason why is because we were also using the volatile deads, right? If I go ahead and I tack this in instead, you'll see that even with the volatile dead spam, oh, did I not change gems? I could have swore I did. Even with the volatile dead spam, I am having some corpses up, right? Like 6 corpse, 5 corpse, right? So if anything, I would have to work on actually, leveling up my skill gems. That way they produce more. And oh, that doesn't need to be there anymore. I was testing out a cold blade vortex thing. I've been testing a lot, right? So that's essentially it, right? I just wanted to show mainly the tech of the loop starting on its own, which was a huge thing about ward loop, right? Where you had to weapon swap anytime you went through a zone or a door. This makes it substantially more quality of life because you're able to go ahead and get your loop automatically started when you run into a zone after like 2 seconds, right? And I think I'm breaking my game because it's not even letting me go to my hideout. Yeah, it's not letting me go anywhere. Please don't break on me. So yeah, I just wanted to go ahead and show how I piggybacked off Wolfio's idea, how I started my loop, and pretty much see what I mean. I believe that that is faster than his, right? Because I can't even see the zombie hitting the ground. I mean, there is a lot of screen clutter. So like if I removed literally everything else, let's see. Oh, maybe not. Let's take out Arcane Surge and wait for it to expire and see if it slows down. Yeah, see, I may be biased, but I'm noticing a difference with every bit of a cast speed that I give it. It does seem to speed up. And the main thought process that had me come to that conclusion was the spell tag, right? So faster casting. More cast speed means I cast the spell faster. That's what that thought process was. And the reason for the arcane surge is because when I was using the mind over matter, testing that, right? The arcane surge is going to kind of try to help me keep my loop sustained. Right now, for me to sustain the loop with the mind over matter, I would need a significant amount more of actual either mana regen or mana recoup or something. Or, I mean, I guess just lower the damage from my loop some because, like, if I go with a heartbound loop, it like pseudo triggers, but as you can see, I don't take enough damage. And then that's when I was having to do stuff like this, where I teched in the less duration and the skeletons. Sometimes I believe to get it started properly, I did have to go ahead and I did have to go ahead and put in the summon raging spirits and the summon skeletons for me to have enough damage taken for the loop to proc, right? The time clasp, it sustains my mana, but it just has me take so much less damage from the actual loop that, I mean, technically it is looping, right? I'm all technically it is looping and it would still work pseudo fine, but using up all these sockets just for the benefit of a time clasp, I'd much rather find a separate way around it, right? Where I'm using the two heartbound loops and I just have way better mana sustain. But yep, that's pretty much it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to stay up to date with this and future videos. And until next time, take care.